Whenever I'm in the Midwest, I make sure to go to as many video game related stores as I can. And because a lot of stores are regional, I like going to GameStops, Walmarts, and other places too. This will be a quick look at all the video games and toys and stuff that you can find in regular stores in Ohio.
Dancing slow on the August heat, barefoot moves on the empty street. Fireflies glow when the night feels right. Every laugh's like a last goodbye. Oh, midnight summer don't fade away. Stay, stay, summer, don't stay away. Flipping and dipping, all we can do. Midnight summer, me and you. Ooh, midnight summer don't fade away. Ooh, midnight summer don't fade away. Stay, stay, summer, don't stay away. Midnight summer don't fade away.
So, I'm going to go to a bunch of GameStops while I'm out here in the Midwest. The main reason is because I'm really curious about how GameStop retros are out here. The first place I'm going to go to is a regular GameStop, just to kind of get a baseline for like what you can find in a GameStop in the Midwest. Now, this first GameStop is just a normal, regular GameStop. It doesn't have a lot to write home about, but this one is in Hamilton, Ohio. When I was a kid and this one opened, I was just so excited that there was a GameStop like 20 minutes from my house. They had a whole bunch of these mod retro Game Boy games that I think work for the Chromatic. I don't know if they work for regular Game Boys, but it was interesting that they had them here. I don't collect Pops, but I love King of the Hill. Everybody here is really nice, but it was just a normal GameStop, nothing really to write home about. Now, across the street from a GameStop is this Goodwill right here. It's located in Hamilton, Ohio, and let's check it out. We'll go to more GameStops later, but since we're here, let's check it out. There are certain books I only read because I was in a high school English class. I sometimes wish there was a way I could donate these to just another high school student so they didn't have to buy them. The tie-in game for this movie is actually considered a Silent Hill for children. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it's still cool to see the VHS right here. I didn't even know this movie came out. Have you seen it? Is it any good? This is a movie where I just see clips of it every once in a while. I'm like, that might be interesting, but I've never seen it. I saw this movie 3 times when it came out in theaters, and it's one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. They seem to be really into Blu-rays here, and I'm not into Blu-ray collecting, but if I was, it'd be a great place to go. There's something really fun about a pencil you have to sharpen. I once had a college professor talk to me about sharpening pencils for like a half an hour. I was very surprised by their selection of games here. Yeah, there's nothing super duper rare or anything, but these weren't all sports titles either. I really liked the original StarCraft games as a kid, but I don't think I ever beat StarCraft 2 all the way, all 3 expansion packs at least. I don't know too much about trains, but I gotta say if I did know something about trains, I bet I could make a lot of money off of that. This place had a bunch of cool and neat things, and this little guy is terrifying. I don't like this. I think he's a little Geppetto. That makes sense. He's probably a Geppetto. Well, anyways, let's go on to the next place. There was a Walmart across the street, so I thought I'd just go, but a torrential downpour started. There's always been a debate of whether or not you get wetter running in the rain or walking in the rain. Running means you're going to run into more raindrops, but walking means you're going to have more time to get hit by raindrops. So who knows? I've always had a lot of luck at this particular Walmart. They always seem to have a whole bunch of games on clearance. And I think in this particular instance, they have so many on clearance because they're moving around stock on shelves. This has basically been the setup for their video games since I was a kid, but unfortunately they're just switching it all around. I really probably should have asked them if I could keep any of their signage, but they all seemed kind of busy doing all this all at once. This reminds me so much of when that store in Connecticut closed down. They had a whole bunch of repackaged Pokemon cards, but I really don't know that much about like modern Pokemon cards to really assess what I'm seeing here. Everything in this Walmart was really moving around, so it was hard to find things that I was looking for, but I thought I'd check out the toys as well. They had a couple of these video game toys that I was kind of interested in, but to be frank, I actually have all these Zelda and Sega toys. I never really watched He-Man as a child, but if you were into He-Man, these might be cool. I think these Street Fighter releases are pretty neat. I'm a huge fan of Street Fighter 2, but I really don't want to collect like every single fighter from this game, so I'm just going to take a look at this, but ultimately I'm going to leave it here. This just seems like a very weird mix of IP right here. Who is this for? These games are both $10 a piece. Unfortunately, I already had Cult of the Lamb, and I decided to leave Haunted House here. I don't know if it's good or not. It is so incredibly wet. Yeah, this is just walking from store to here. Had a pretty good parking spot too. This is a crazy amount of wet. But yeah, why not? I'm gonna go to a couple other stores. I can't get more wet. Well, that's not true. I could get more wet, but you know. I used to kind of think pawn shops were a little shady and they kind of freaked me out a little bit. But then I watched Phoenix Resale going into pawn shops getting good deals all the time. So I thought, hey, you know what? Maybe I could go into a pawn shop and get a good deal. So that's why I'm here, looking through their games and stuff, seeing what they've got. This thing's kind of interesting if you're from Cincinnati. It's Joe Burrow throwing a baseball at a Reds game. Interesting. He had a whole bunch of random games in the back that were just kind of loose and that sort of thing. So I looked through them and I picked out a few, and he gave them to me for about $5 a piece. I ended up doing a bundle deal. They were actually pretty chill at that pawn shop, and they were really nice too. I got a mystery game, I got Adventure Time, I got an empty case of Princess Debut, I had no idea what that was, and Metal Gear Solid 5. I got a Super Nintendo game without any sort of label. I opened it up to clean it out. It was still pretty darn dirty. Ended up being a copy of Super Mario Kart, which was pretty cool. I'm gonna have to learn how to change a battery though. This next GameStop is a GameStop Retro in Westchester, Ohio. Now right off the bat, they had a better selection of retro video games than the ones I've been to in Connecticut. The fellow that worked here let me know that even though the selection here was decent, the selection at their Middletown store was even better. There's a lot more newer houses in the Westchester area, so my working theory is that there's more older houses in Middletown, which means more people hold on to their old school video games. Now right off the bat, when I'm considering whether or not a price of a game is good, I look at price charting. I'm throwing this out there. Overall, these prices were pretty darn good, 10 to 20% below price charting. There was a rare exception here and there of a price that was a little bit higher, but overall I think this was pretty decent. Typically speaking, I like going into mom and pop shops, but sometimes there's a paradox of choice. What I mean by that is there's so many things in front of me that I really can't concentrate on one particular thing. Even though the selection might not be as concentrated, I wish all GameStops had retro games. It'd probably make me stop in pretty much every single GameStop I ever passed. And if 9/10 of customer acquisition is just getting people in the store in the first place, I think that would be a really smart thing to do. But given the fellow's advice, I thought I'd make my way down to Middletown, see what they had. This GameStop Retro is located in Middletown, Ohio, where I was born, but I really grew up like one town over. Today I'm going with my dad to GameStop. Say hi, Dad. When it comes to co-stars, sometimes my dad is the best one. He really knows nothing about video games, but it's really nice that he just cares enough to come with me. But right off the bat, they've got a terrific selection and I'm glad I came. $114 is a great price for a Dreamcast, $109 is just amazing. They've got an eclectic mix of new and old things, and they even have some limited run games in the back. Now the thing is I'm a pro member, so even when the prices are just a little bit high, I always have my discount, and then every month you get like $5 off, and I could always use that towards bringing the price of these games down just a little bit more. And not for nothing, a game like Pokemon Coliseum, even though it's very expensive, that is cheaper than the going rate. While I was here, I ended up finding a copy of Sonic 06. I've never given it a try, but I really want to. They also had a fair amount of Game Boy games. I love Kirby Tilt and Tumble. It's one of my favorites for the Game Boy Color. I actually didn't get my 3DS until the new 3DS came out, but that was kind of awesome because I got to play all these games that already came out for it. Hey, and check it out, another Atlas game that I know nothing about. I think I might leave this one here though. A Boy and His Blob is a very confusing, fun, and interesting game. I've never really played a different game like it. I ended up with two games. This first one is a Atlas game I don't know anything about, and this other game, The Dog Island, some other person was talking about this on TikTok and how they really enjoyed this game. So I thought I'd give it a try, why not? It was only 14 bucks. We're doing a lot today, so I decided to go on over to the half-price books. Now my kid's super into Dogman right now, and they had so many books that we didn't have. I am trying not to pay retail, and these are all half off, so you know what? I'm gonna get all of these for my son. There's a couple of newer ones out, but I think I'll get there when I get there. First things first, they had a not-so-minty Monster in My Pocket by Konami for an absurd $200. And frankly, that was just going to set the tone today for half-price books. They had a whole bunch of games here that were just way overpriced. I have no idea how they were getting these numbers. At the end of the day, games are worth the price that people will pay for them, and if they're selling them over here for these prices, good for them. But, you know, for me, I'm not going to pick up a game that's this expensive. It's just wild. My other thing on the other side of all this is I always encourage people to just keep going to these stores. Every once in a while you'll catch a game that is priced pretty well, or you know, you'll get lucky and somebody ended up pricing the games that day, and you'll end up finding a game that you want to buy. After I end up collecting all my N64 games, I will have a Xbox set that I'm going to work on for a little bit, but I'll reveal more about that later. Honestly, what I'm looking for is backwards compatible Xbox Series X games that are original Xbox games. They have a loose copy of Sonic Heroes right here. I recently just sold my Player's Choice version of this game, so I'm going to leave this here because I sold it for less than this. This is an interesting game, Rumble Roses. I actually like this more because it has all these Blockbuster stickers on it. It's pretty neat. This Wipeout 3 game looks amazing. Unfortunately, that cover isn't like a special edition. It's literally just a printed version of the manual. Somebody really likes Tiger Woods. I mean, I think he's a good athlete, but I don't know if he's like 4 bobblehead good. Though you know what, he is a really good golfer. You know, it's interesting, the Spider-Man games always get a little bit more expensive when people are talking about the new Spider-Man movie. I also really like cassette tapes, but I don't have a really good way of playing cassette tapes. I don't like getting these at the resale value, I just love finding these at garage sales for a couple bucks. These are little cartridges for the R-Zone. It's like a Tiger Electronics game that you strap to your head. It beamed red light right into your eyeball. These are all behind the counter things. They always have like a couple more video games behind the counter. I always like checking them out just in case there's any gems. To round out the day, I decided to check out one more Walmart. It probably wasn't worth my time, but it's always nice to go to another Walmart. What I've always found interesting about the Midwest is you can find a lot of the things that you find in the Midwest anywhere. I remember as a kid thinking I was trapped in the Midwest and I could never get out. I eventually moved to Washington, D.C. and then later to New York City, and I've been a lot of places since. The funny thing is, all of the things I needed to film great content or make movies or make films were all here in the Midwest the whole time. And nowadays, I look forward to going to the Midwest. If you ever feel like escaping the Midwest, just know there's a lot of really great things here. I was actually in the Midwest for quite a while, and I ended up filming so much stuff. So if you're into this Midwest content, be sure to subscribe because I've got a lot coming out.